I'm Brian Sterling, United States Attorney for the District of South Carolina. Today, I'm proud to be joined by Sheriff Leon Lott, an FBI Special Agent in charge for for South Carolina, Kevin Moore, Lamar File, and L. Klein, the prosecutors for the U.S. Attorney's Office, Assistant U.S. Attorneys. As you heard in court today, Jonathan Felkel entered a plea of guilty to violating the Fair Housing Act. Again, this is a very deeply disturbing allegation and the one-count indictment. His penalties are roughly 8 to 9 years. He'll do 85% of that, depending on how he behaves at the Bureau of Prisons. If he's sentenced to, he'll do 3 years of supervised release and have to pay a $100 fine. This was a quick resolution to the case. I think this highlights the cooperation that you see. You may not see this in other states between local and state prosecutors, local and state law enforcement, local and state and federal partners. This happened in July of 2025. We were soon on the phone with the sheriff and the FBI, and we're sitting here with a guilty plea that you just witnessed in court. That's 9 months. That is record time for something like this. Usually it takes a long time. Process going forward, probably take about 90 to 120 days to get the pre-sentence report. They'll come back, and then he'll be sentenced to his time at the Federal Bureau of Prisons, and he'll be sent somewhere. He'll be detained until that time. I'm happy to introduce Kevin Moore from the FBI, and then Sheriff Lott will speak.
Thank you, Brian. And good afternoon, everybody. Again, Kevin J. Moore, FBI Special Agent in charge of the Columbia Field Office for the state of South Carolina. This plea means accountability. It means a step towards justice for the victims. The FBI will always work hard as we can to protect our communities, ensuring folks feel safe. Our law enforcement team is committed to doing just that, keeping our communities safe. Thanks to the Richland County Sheriff's Office and the U.S. Attorney's Office for the amazing partnerships and teamwork. And I want to remind the public of the importance of reporting hate crimes. If you are a victim or a witness to a hate crime, report it immediately. So thank you, and I'll turn it over to Sheriff Lott.
This case was a very troubling case for our community, impacted a lot of people of all races. I think today is starting some closure for our victim. Just imagine that you're going to work and you get yelled at and called a derogatory term and a gun is shot. I think you heard in court today, though, that wasn't what this charge was all about, the fact that he called him a boy. It was the statements that he gave to us later when we interviewed him, where he admitted that the only reason why he did what he did and intimidated him and shot in the air was because based on his race, that he was black. That's disturbing that we still have people like that in our community. But what you saw today and you've seen for the last 9 months is how quickly that we can investigate a case and bring someone to justice. You know, the U.S. Attorney's Office, the FBI, and the Richland County Sheriff's Department works very closely together all the time. They don't take every case, but this was a case from day one that they felt like they needed to get involved in, and we agreed 100%. So we appreciate the fact that they got involved, and we're here in federal court today, and we'll probably have an appropriate sentence at appropriate time. But again, you know, let's don't focus so much on Felkel, the bad guy. Let's focus on the victim and his family, how they felt that morning and how they continue to feel. The fact that they were in court today and you got to see the person that almost took his life. That pain is still there. Speaking with them, the pain is still there. That's something they'll remember the rest of their days. Not only them, but their family, immediate family, and their extended family, and this community. But today is that road to recovery for everybody.
And the victim, I think, may speak at sentencing, but he does not wish to speak at this time. We're happy to answer any questions y'all have. Yes.
Sheriff, what would you say to those who feel that the state does not have a need for hate crimes?
Well, the state doesn't have a need for the hate crime, but the federal government does, and that's why we're in court today. Unfortunately, we do have to turn to the federal government, U.S. Attorney's Office, and the FBI when someone commits a hate crime. It's still a shame we're only one of 2 states in the whole United States that doesn't have it. But luckily we do have the U.S. Attorney's Office who will prosecute someone for that.
When you say the state doesn't have a need for hate crimes, you don't really mean that literally. You just said we want a hate crime. So does the state have a need for hate crimes?
The state has a need for it. We just saw that in this case. You just heard the evidence that had been presented in court, that this crime was committed based solely on the hate of someone's race. That is a hate crime.
Sheriff, what's the status of the case at the county level?
It's progressing. He was charged with a county ordinance. The maximum was 30 days. The state system runs a lot slower than the federal system. That's why we're in federal court. He's not going anywhere. So it'll be some while, and then the solicitor's office will have to decide if they're going to prosecute it or if they'll just let this stand.
Sheriff Lott, you talked about the need and the difference between it being on the federal level and the state level. Can you talk a little bit about the precedent that this will set now that it is being seen, even if it's a lesser offense, misdemeanor on the state level? What precedents it sets moving forward for people who may be victims or otherwise?
Well, hopefully victims understand that we're going to stand with them and we're going to prosecute anybody who commits a hate crime. And to those who are out here committing hate crimes, we're going to come after you. The full weight of the Sheriff's Department, the FBI, United States Attorney's Office, they're going to fall on top of you. It's not going to be tolerated.
Hey, Sheriff, without a state hate crime law, does it make it harder to investigate such crimes? I mean, this one sounds like it went pretty smoothly, but this is just one case.
Not the investigation part. We're going to investigate it. It's the prosecution. We don't have anywhere to go on a state level to have it prosecuted. That's why we're here in federal court, because the U.S. Attorney's Office looked at this facts in this case and said this is something that needs to be prosecuted.
And based on what some of the bills that have been filed when it comes to the hate crimes in the state, what more could have been added to this if we would have saw a state law books?
You're going to have to ask those people who work at the State House why they haven't passed it. I know law enforcement's in favor of it. I think most people are in favor of it. It's the people who pass the laws. They're the ones who will make it happen.
Sheriff, do you think if the state had a statewide hate crime law in place, the punishment towards Felkel would have been worse when it comes to this case?
I can't answer that. I think the federal system has a good sentencing guidelines. The pre-sentence report will come back. We'll give a history of him and also the facts of this crime, and that's presented to the judge. And I think the guidelines are appropriate.
Sheriff, under the facts of the case, could you have charged him with anything that would carry as much prison time as kind of got agreed to here?
I can't answer what prosecution on a state level does, what local prosecutor does. So I don't know. I just know what happened up here today, and I know what he's facing, and I think that's appropriate.
Will he remain at Alvin S. Glenn?
That's where he's at, Alvin S. Glenn Detention Center.
He's detained until sentencing. Any more?
I guess you got part of the plea agreement. You got most of what would have been the maximum sentence, close to that 10 years. Can you speak to sort of what led to getting that close to the maximum sentence?
Well, he hasn't been sentenced yet, just to be clear. I mean, that's been talked about. We're going to see where the pre-sentence report goes, and we'll know more in 90 to 100 days, and you'll see us out here again and talking about his sentence. So this is just stuff that, the court has to inform him that he's looking at, and once pre-sentence report comes back and he's sentenced by the judge, we'll have a definite time frame that he's going to be doing at least 85% of that, and then 3 years supervision.
Sure, but you're looking for close to the maximum.
Yes, we're going to. So he agreed to 8 to 9 years. So he agreed to 8 to 9 years. Any other questions?
Yes. Have you all looked at his cell phone or computer to see if he's affiliated or has looked into any white supremacist groups or websites?
Uh,
I wouldn't have any information on that. I'm not sure if the law enforcement folks want to talk about that or not, part of the investigation.
So, yeah, the investigative team is very thorough, and they're investigating any matter, especially something as egregious as hate crimes. So we thoroughly go through all aspects and relevant facts of the investigation, to include search of typically electronics. But we got a search warrant?
they weren't necessary in this case.
So yeah, it depends on the elements of the crime and the necessity for those types of pieces of information.
Any of that type information could come out of sentencing if it exists?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
All right, thank you all very much.